Wait. Never mind.
Welcome, everybody. We are live. This is Under Construction.
What's happening?
I'm Rodney.
I'm Jamal.
Isa.
What up?
And so we're going to hit you with a good episode today. We got a lot of things to talk about. Did you guys see the last episode of The Last Dance 7 and 8?
Come on now. I mean, there's like nothing else to watch these days. Seriously.
There's always something to watch.
I mean, nothing I like watching. It might be something to watch. Nothing I like.
MJ,
you don't have to disclose what you watched.
MJ had the best quote when he said, "BJ should have known better." I remember that game too, because I thought the Hornets was really gonna do something.
Hey man,
it's just kind of crazy looking back at those games. You were like, "Did we win that game? I forgot. Did we win that one?"
Yeah, right.
I'm like, how did we not score more points with Glenn Rice on the team?
Hey man, I know y'all remember the stare. Remember the stare Michael gave BJ? Like, yeah, Michael gave him this look like, "No, you done fucked up, right?" Like, and it was pretty much over from there, man.
Hey man, the funniest part was when he was in that locker with the baseball bat in his hand.
Yeah, with the cigar.
And the cigar like a mob boss. I'm like, yo, this dude is so badass, man.
Hey man, go ahead.
I forgot that BJ Armstrong was a Hornet.
I did too for a second, man.
Like, oh shit, he was a Hornet back in '98.
No, I actually remember, man, because I distinctly remember he got off those first two games, man. I just remember the look Michael gave him, like, yeah, I do. Y'all remember? It's kind of ironic, man, because remember when Orlando beat Chicago and Horace Grant was on the shoulders of everybody? He was chopping it up. Not quite the same thing, but BJ Armstrong had a lot to say after the Hornets beat the Bulls in those games, man. So Michael was like, "All right, dude." Like,
he knew better though, man. Like he sealed that fate when he did that. He knew better.
Yeah, he knew better, but you can't do it to Mike, man. You see why?
So you guys are older than me. Let me ask you a question. Do you guys remember where you were?
You remind us of that all the time, but yeah, go ahead, man. I'm sorry.
Do you guys remember where you were the first game that Michael Jordan came back?
Ooh.
Against the Pacers at Market Square Arena.
I do. Actually, I do, Rodney. Because that game was on a Sunday. And I remember, I believe it was that Saturday. I was outside playing basketball, and I came back in the house, and my nickname for my mom was Bo. So my mom was like, "Bo, did you see the news?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "You might want to turn on the TV." And I turn on the TV, man, and I'm like, I guess I'm maybe 16 years old around that time. And I'm like hopping around like a little girl, man. Like I lost my mind when I turned on TV, and the two words was, "I'm back." Yeah, that was it for me, bro.
Yeah, same. When Michael Jordan came back, it was like, it's weird because I'm a huge Hornets fan, and I've been a Hornets fan since November 4th, 1988, when they were blown out by Cleveland by 40 points, and everyone stood up and clapped. But, you couldn't, if you were from Charlotte or particularly North Carolina, you could not be a Michael Jordan fan.
That's true.
Time. It was kind of like it was accepted that, well, the Hornets suck, so it's okay to root for Michael Jordan at the time. That was accepted at the time just because Michael Jordan was from North Carolina. So we were all Michael Jordan fans, and we cheered for them in the playoffs because the Hornets wasn't there. So to see him come back, of course, like Jamal said, was just like yes, I have something to cheer for again, because the Hornets were falling apart at that time too. That was right after the whole Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning beef. And all that happened.
Okay, back.
Yeah.
Right. The Hornets were kind of like, in a bad place at that time. Michael Jordan comes back. I will say I hate that he wasn't able to win the championship that year. And I'm glad the documentary gives some insight into why that was physically. Yeah. Kind of, Michael Jordan had turned it. And also another thing, people downplay how, I'll say average. Good might be an overstatement, but how average of a baseball player Michael Jordan was, and I don't see that in a bad way.
Right.
By the time he left, he was hitting 250, had 30 stolen bases and a few home runs. There are guys Jamal's a baseball fan. He knows this. There are guys who never reached those kind of stats coming out of
right, right. Because here's another thing to keep in mind.
He hadn't played baseball in 17 years, and then he
right.
goes to the minors and he's able to do that.
And tell the crazy thing is, he came out with a 14-game hitting streak.
Yeah.
Yeah, everyone forgets it. Michael Jordan was such a bad baseball player. Look, I'm not saying he was.
No, he wasn't.
but he wasn't as terrible as people like to paint that. It's always fun.
That sounds familiar. Yeah, that sounds real familiar.
It's fun for people to paint these negative narratives about Michael Jordan because, Michael Jordan is a larger-than-life character. So when he does these larger-than-life things, if people say, well, he was a good player, because you can't dispute that, but he wasn't a good baseball player. He's not a good executive. He's not a good owner. It brings Michael Jordan back down to our level. So
right.
But I wish they had gotten that championship the year he came back, but he was a different player at that point.
Yeah. Here's one thing to keep in mind during those Bulls Hornets days of the late 90s, man. A lot of people forget that due to stupid NBA regulations and rules, a lot of those Hornets games were blacked out. A lot of those home Charlotte Hornets games.
Yeah.
Right. So if you were not actually at the game, you didn't see a lot of Charlotte Hornets games. Coincidentally, there was the WGN Chicago station they used to air on Charlotte cable, where you could watch any damn Bulls game you wanted to. So that made sense for a lot of Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls fans to be what they were in the late 90s, man. So and one more thing to the baseball point. Also, you got to understand, he skipped over single A. This dude went straight to double A. Like, that's not the way baseball works. If you're a rookie coming out of high school, college, you go to single A. A lot of guys don't make it out of single A, and then you go to double A. You know what I mean? So Michael was kind of like on a very fast track to at least get to triple A baseball. Again, we're not telling people he was going to be damn Ricky Henderson all of a sudden, but from where he started to where he ended up, man, it was a pretty fast track to become at least a decent baseball player.
In fact, I think if the strike hadn't happened, he might have stayed in baseball.
Yeah,
possibly. Yeah.
It was a blessing in disguise for us NBA fans.
It sure is.
Michael Jordan, as we've seen through the documentary, his competitiveness, he would have died trying to become the best baseball player ever. He might have never achieved it, but the narrative was that Michael's not that good of a baseball player, and he was going to do whatever it took to be good. And then the strike comes around, and he knows at that point, well, there's no way I can go to the majors now, no matter how hard I work, because there is no Major League Baseball. But now he's got that competitive fire stoked. If you read the articles about the pickup games he used to have with his teammates in Birmingham and all that stuff, he wanted to play. He wanted to be competitive again. He couldn't do that in Major League Baseball because of the strike. NBA's like, hey, take it back, open arms. So
let me take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
So when he retired, what were some of those rumors you heard as to why he retired?
You want to take this one first, Kaza, because I may get pretty passionate about this.
I'll make it quick. At the time, so the rumor about his father being killed due to gambling debts, that was like the first thing that came out. In fact, when I first heard the news, that was what I heard, because I actually didn't hear the news until I heard the news when everyone else did, but I mean the news when they caught the guys was that he had only been missing until they found his body. And even before that, though, there were rumors that he was missing due to Michael Jordan's gambling. And then, when they found out he was killed, it was, was it a mob hit and all kinds of stuff. And I mean, that's just sensationalist reporting. I'll say this. Imagine that nowadays with the misinformation of the internet and social media.
Fake news.
I mean, people are going crazy with that narrative now, 5 years later. Imagine if media and entertainment had been then like it is now. But I'll say this about Jordan's retirement, because a lot of people will bring up the fact that, well, Michael Jordan took 2 years off, so of course he was able to whatever. Especially when we talk about today's NBA players doing load management. None of the players today in today's NBA, you can argue about who the greatest is or whatever, but none of them had to go through the adversity that Michael Jordan and the Bulls went through for that first three-peat.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you add to the fact that, okay, he's exhausted from winning 3 straight championships, something that hasn't been done. Let's see, the Lakers did it in the beginning of the millennium, hasn't been done since, and hadn't been done before that in the modern NBA post-merger. So you have the physical and emotional, mental toll of that. And then your father dies?
Right.
He doesn't just die. He's
murdered.
murdered.
Brutally murdered. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Murdered. And I'm not surprised Michael Jordan retired at all. And this is stuff we all knew before the documentary. And a lot of people say, well, he just went to go play baseball. Well, that's because he wanted to fulfill a promise to his father. And Michael Jordan loves baseball. So he might have taken a break from the NBA. He did not take a break from professional sports. He just went to play
something different to honor his dad.
Right. To play a different one. I just hate that talking point. Well, Michael Jordan took 2 years off. So how's it different from load management? The situation is completely different. The context is different.
How can somebody even say compare the two, man? Like, come on, the load management really to this?
Yeah.
But anyway, man, what I was gonna say was, like, during the time where all that was going on, I personally don't really remember the narrative during that point. I don't know whether it's because I was choosing to block it out, I wasn't paying attention. I really don't know. The narrative that, Michael's father died behind his gambling debts was something that, I wasn't really in tune to until years later. And the way I feel about it now, man, is that's just absolutely irresponsible journalism. It's irresponsible conversation. If it were me, if I was an athlete, Michael Jordan, what have you, and my father was killed for something that was not even closely connected to my personal gambling debt, whatever, Michael handled that way better than I could have. You know what I mean? Because I would have just been flipping out on everybody. Like, you're not going to try to. I'm already dealing with the death of my father. It's coming from someone who's lost a parent in real life. And now on top of that, you're going to try to, like, damage my character behind my parents' death. Like, that would not have flown as much as it did with Michael me. And I think Michael kind of knew. He knows his place. He knows what happens with his fame. He knows the price of his own fame. You get what I'm saying? So I guess if you have that mindset, you can deal with that crap a lot more. But Jamal Darby couldn't have dealt with that as I couldn't have handled it like Michael handled it, man. No way. Absolutely not, man. Okay. And just to be clear, there's never been a connection behind the two guys that were caught and Michael's gambling, whatever. So just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, so out of these last 2 episodes, what other things stood out to you the most?
I hope everybody paid attention to how Michael got emotional. I'm talking about tears coming out this man's eyes when he was talking about what it took to win, the price of winning. Yeah, I had to be the bad guy. Yeah, I had to be the jerk. Yes, I had to be the asshole. But I want people to understand this is what the price was for us to be at the mountaintop. And this guy's literally crying, telling you this. So I just hope people notice that.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a self-sacrifice to me.
Yeah.
Because the narrative is that Michael Jordan's a dickhead and a jerk, but he got 6 championships, so should he really care? And there's no doubt in my mind that the Bulls don't win 6 championships if Michael Jordan is not that way.
Right.
There's a narrative when we talk about today's stars that we talk about such and such don't have that. He don't have the killer instinct. And the reason that's important is this. A lot of people say, well, hey, there's more than one way to win, which is absolutely true. But do you want to win 6 championships or not?
Right. Right.
Or do you want to win 3 championships?
Right.
Do you want to win all the time and be outright dominant, or do you want to lose more than you win? That was the difference. But that and that last shot of episode 8, Michael Jordan lying on the floor after winning the championship on Father's Day, dog. I mean,
That's powerful, man.
But like we never heard the actual crying audio.
Yeah,
we saw him. Everybody told us he was crying. Like that audio put everything into perspective.
I can't with it. What was going through his head that game, playing a game on Father's Day, without his father in the stands. That was a real good moment they captured. Also, I hope that people see how good the Seattle Supersonics really were that year. A lot of people talk about Michael Jordan's competition during the finals. Mm-hmm. And there might be a modicum of truth of that, but the Seattle Supersonics team gets vastly underrated. I mean, they won 66, 67 games.
They won a lot of games that year. I think they won like 67 games that year, man. Yeah.
They were a good team. And young cats, go back and watch Sean Kemp's highlights. Just go back and watch
that little shrimp. Sam Perkins,
Percy Hawkins, yeah,
that was a really good team. And if they had played anybody but the Bulls,
they would have won.
They would have won a chip.
Nate McMillan.
Hey, but Kaiser, speaking of that, let's speak to that real quick. You just said if they would have played anybody else, they would have won. Can't you say that for almost every Bulls opponent? Maybe beside the Lakers in '91. Could we really say that about every? Because you're not going to tell me Utah doesn't win 2 straight if they don't play the Bulls.
So the Eastern Conference was much stronger than it is now. But people forget the Western Conference has always been the stronger conference. Always.
Right.
Back even to the 90s, except for, of course, the Bulls were winning all of these championships, but those Western Conference teams were really strong. And then you look at even the 80s. I mean, the Lakers won 5 championships in the 80s. The Western Conference has always been really strong. And the only team of those, maybe Portland. Portland was probably the weakest of all the teams that Chicago beat for the championship. And they were still really good. That's the only team where I think they might have lost to trying to remember who the Bulls played in the Eastern Conference Finals that year. I think the Knicks. They might have lost that Knicks team, but Utah's winning 2 straight. If Chicago's not there, Seattle's winning 1 as well, and maybe even Phoenix gets 1. Charles Barkley was on fire that year.
Charles Barkley, beside Michael Jordan, Charles Barkley was clearly the best player in the NBA that year. It was, yeah. So
he got MVP over Mike.
But, but that's another story for another day. That's like we're tired of giving it to Michael. Let's get somebody else.
I never liked that narrative. And y'all know I'm not like the biggest LeBron fan, but he kind of like deserves MVP every year.
It's the same. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
He's just the best player. And it's funny, basketball in the NFL has this kind of thing where they don't like consecutive MVPs.
Right.
For instance, in the NHL, Wayne Gretzky won 8 straight MVPs.
Right.
The only reason he didn't have 10 straight is because he lost to Mario Lemieux by 1 vote.
And
then the next season won MVP. 9 out of 10 years, an entire decade, he won 9 MVPs. That should have been Michael Jordan in the NBA as well, but it was just kind of like, well, we got to give it to someone else. So,
and look, man, not to go completely off the rails here, but like this is what like Kobe only has 1. Like, come on, man, like that's crazy too, man.
Hot take: Steve Nash has a Shaq MVP and a Kobe MVP. Okay,
I agree with that.
One thing that stuck out to me, man, was when Gary Payton was talking and saying if I was switched out on Michael earlier, I'd have made a difference. And Mike just laughed him off. But if you look at those numbers, Gary Payton made a difference. If you look at those numbers, he made a difference.
The truth is somewhere in the middle.
I agree.
All right, because I'm going to ask you this.
Look, Michael to this day was never going to give him that victory.
If some dude gives you 24, 5, and 5, which is what Michael Jordan averaged against Gary Payton, did you really do anything? Michael Jordan didn't score, didn't do 31, 6, and 7, but he still gave you 25, 5, and 5.
But if you shot 38% to get there, I did something.
But you lost.
Let me tell y'all something. Let me tell you why I believe the truth is in the middle somewhere. So coincidentally, game 6 of that finals game was actually on TV yesterday, and I watched it. And here's the thing about those stats when they say when such and such guarded somebody, they can tend to be a bit misleading sometimes because we know this. We watch basketball all the time, and we know this. We know when one guy's guarding somebody, there's switches, there's screens, there's the guy that's so-called shutting the other guy down is not necessarily on that guy all the time. So, not to not give Gary Payton credit, but at the same time, who's to say that they just didn't change something schematically? Now, here's why I say that. Because the game that I actually watched yesterday, Michael did not have a great game 6. And from what my eyes saw, it wasn't necessarily because of one guy. And it wasn't necessarily because of Gary Payton. It wasn't necessarily because of David Wingate or anybody. Sometimes you just miss shots. Sometimes the team just guards you better. So that's why I say the truth is somewhere in the middle somewhere. The Sonics obviously made an adjustment. I will give them credit for that. And I also do believe Michael had a heavy heart. I believe both things contributed to it. I really do.
And then finally, we got clarification on the Michael Jordan, Steve Kerr matchup. Look, Steve Kerr gave points to me, man. I'm like, yo, Steve Kerr is trill, man. He pushed Mike first.
Yeah, he started.
He started it. Mike finished it. So
Mike finished it though.
we can say that about a lot of things, man. I mean, but here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. But that's just another example of how Mike was pushing people to face pressure. If you can't face my pressure, you can't face the pressure of playoff and finals basketball. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's just a small example of why that works.
I just think it's odd that all of his teammates talk about how much of a jerk he was in these situations where, you know, he's punching Steve Kerr, knocking motherfuckers out on the court and stuff. But they wouldn't change anything. If they could go back in time and win championships with Michael Jordan, they're gonna do it. I think that says a lot about, you know, Michael Jordan. And I think it was Will Perdue, might have been B.J. Armstrong, who said Michael Jordan didn't ask us to do anything he wouldn't have done
himself.
Michael Jordan wasn't out there punching people in the face and then sit back, kicking back, drinking Gatorade. Michael Jordan was out there work too, and he just wanted you to put in as much work as he was going to put in. So also, I thought the relationship between him and Scott Burrell was
interesting.
Yeah. I never realized they were like that close, and I'm mad at Scott Burrell for not being a better NBA player. It's like, you know, dog, when you was on Hornet, how come you wasn't like? But
you wasn't even a 15-point guy.
Yeah, I feel like you got Michael Jordan like on speed dial. Boy, you better be abusing that. So.
Hey, UConn fan here. We said the same thing when he was at UConn, man. It's like underachiever. He had the body type. You know what I'm saying? He had the physical skills. He had everything to be a really good NBA player. But here's the thing to that, yeah. I think Michael and Scotty looked at Scott Burrell and said the same thing. Like, this guy has the tools to be better than what he is. Because why else would you just randomly, you know, point out Scott Burrell and be like, and be so hard on him rather than anybody? You get what I'm saying? So I think that they saw the same thing us UConn fans saw for 4 years. Like, why aren't you better than this? There you go.
Gotcha. Okay, speaking of being better than this, the NFL is recently they basically recently said that they're going to vote on the measure to actually get more minorities in the workplace. So you move up, was it 5 spots, 5 or 6 spots if you hire a minority coach, and you move up 10 spots if you hire a minority GM. So, gentlemen, what do you think about this rule? I have a feeling what you guys think.
I actually hate the reason this rule is being voted on more than the rule itself. if the NFL was better about minority hiring practices, they wouldn't have to do these ridiculous measures
Thank you.
to ensure that that teams do it. I'll say at least the NFL recognizes that they have a problem. They got to do something, but the incentive is it's just so ridiculous. There's got to be a better solution. Unfortunately, though, as the NFL is owned by a bunch of old rich white guys, and it's going to be hard to get them to put minorities into positions of influence. So while I think the proposed solution is kind of dumb, I see the need for it, and I can't think of a better one. Not off the top of my head. I'm sure if I sat down in a think tank with a bunch of other sports analysts, we could come up with something better. This seems kind of rushed and haphazard by the NFL. Like, okay, we got to do something. Let's give teams draft spots. I mean, that's like franchise changing almost.
Third round.
Right.
So
I really don't know how I can follow that, because I feel the exact same way. I mean, this is just the symptom to the problem is bigger itself. Like this is a very cheesy way to try to correct something that has been a problem with the NFL for decades now. You get what I'm saying? And I just don't think you don't go about changing the culture of the NFL in this particular way. It almost lacks integrity to me. Like it seriously lacks it lacks integrity in the effect of, it's almost like a cheesy affirmative action, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? I don't know a better way to put that. Like you're really, why do minorities have to be worth draft picks to damn get a fair shot at being GMs, coaches, whatever? And I find that exponentially stupid, because you look on the field, who's it mostly? It's mostly us.
Black guys, yeah.
So when we're after retirement or what have you, look at the Airbnb situation. Everybody in the free world knows he should be a coach, an executive, or something. So you mean to tell me this guy, and I'm just using him as an example, y'all. So you mean to tell me if I'm Tom White and I own an NFL team, it's like, well, I think he's good anyway, but we sure could use an extra third round pick. Man, come on. How if I'm Airbnb, how do I feel better about myself? You get what I'm saying? Like the NFL and Roger Goodell, I sound like a broken record. I've said this 37,000 times, man. I just don't know how anybody can be more out of touch socially than the NFL and Roger Goodell, man. I just don't, man. It's beyond just it's beyond annoying at this point, man.
I feel like NASCAR is more progressive than the NFL,
and that's saying something.
It's crazy.
Let me tell you, honestly, I go back and I was looking at some stuff last night, and I was looking at kind of the transcripts of when Matt Rule was hired.
Right.
And one thing that kind of struck out to me, Tepper essentially says, I saw myself in Matt Rule. We have a lot of similar qualities. And it's just like any other workplace, man. It's just like you're more likely to hire who looks like you, who you can relate to, similar life right. circumstances and stuff like that.
Right.
And then we just flatly ignore the cultural differences.
Right.
One anonymous black coach in the league, he basically said, we're good enough to entertain you on Sundays, but we're not good enough to lead your locker room. Which is totally true. And it's just like how do we overcome that? It's just like, to me, it's something that we never truly overcome until you start seeing more minority owners.
And that just goes back to the whole changing of the culture, man. It's like, who is going to be the one to quote unquote break the cycle because that's what it is. When you have this domino effect that is a continuous cycle, what do you do with the cycle? Someone has to break that cycle. You get what I'm saying? John Lynch has been entrusted to be the general manager of the 49ers. Why can't someone like Eric Bieniemy get that same shot? Correct me if I'm wrong, y'all. I don't remember John Lynch going through the ranks to become this GM. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know that. But I'm just saying, why can't we get the same shot, man? And it's beyond frustrating, man.
Jamal, I'm going to go back to when we all were children. It was a sports announcer. I don't know if you remember 30 plus years ago. He basically questions the black man's capacity to be an NFL quarterback.
Yeah, right.
And the coach and the GM are in the same kind of line of thinking. It's more that's more assumed as a thinking man type game.
Right.
And people still hold to those old stereotypes. You got Ozzie Newsome from Baltimore. He's the architect of that team.
Yeah. Right.
You got
that never really gets credit for it, but yeah.
He never gets credit. He got 2 championships.
Right.
You got one of the most successful franchises in the NFL. And if you look at Miami, the GM is black and the coach is a Hispanic black guy.
Mm-hmm.
They flipped that roster over within a year. They won 5 out of their last 9 games.
Yeah.
With that trash roster.
When they were being sabotaged, basically. And look
at that GM. He accumulated all those picks. He still went up with the quarterback he wanted. And I got a hot take for you guys. When it all starts to turn around, I bet you one of the two are going to be fired.
I was about to say that. I think the second something goes wrong, and I do mean the very second, that upward trend starts to go down, it's like, well, I think we need to go in a different direction now. Look, Chris Rock made a joke one year. He said, I just want a black Dave Wannstedt to be in the NFL. Like, I just want look, man, we had Marvin Lewis. Congratulations. Can we have more than one Marvin Lewis in the NFL? That's all I ask, man.
Also, the system they're proposing, I could see that being easily manipulated by.
Always, of course.
If let's say you really need to move up in the draft, first of all, GMs are fairly expendable. Not expendable as coaches, but GMs you could get away with plugging in an interim GM. So imagine if you said, okay, we're going to fire him and just hire random minority GM to get a 10 spot or whatever, increase in draft position.
Hey, Kaz, let me cut you off real quick. Could you imagine breaking news? The New England Patriots just hire Mr. Black Guy, and we'd be looking like, really? Like, but go ahead, man. I didn't cut you off.
We forget that the GM isn't an official NFL position. By that, I mean that you have GM duties. Some organizations have someone who they list as a general manager, but you could be like New England. They don't have a GM. Bill Belichick has their GM duties. So let's say they hire a GM to get 10 spots. Bill Belichick's not giving up his GM duties. So
No.
You hired a GM.
You hire a dummy GM, so to speak.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a broken system. I hope it gets voted down. I hope the public pressure is enough for them to say, okay, this is stupid. Let's go back. Let's go back to the drawing table to really fix the root of this issue instead of slapping a Band-Aid on it.
To me, what they really need to address is that pipeline and that good old boy system. You got coaches. I mean, look at it like this. Example. Ron Rivera was given one of his first gigs with Norv Turner. Come to Carolina, he hired Norv Turner. Norv Turner's like, hey, my son needs a job. His son and nephew are in the quarterback room.
Right.
We can't get these young African-American guys in the quarterback room to be coordinators. We have to actually go back and build that pipeline up through high school, college, everything. We got to build that pipeline. We got to find a way to address all those issues.
Yeah, and let me say this: I'll play devil's advocate on that one. Even then, nepotism is a slippery slope. Um, we saw that with the Charlotte Bobcats. I'll just put that out there. But but at the same time, man, you got to take the good with the bad because something has got to start with the change of the culture. So again, man, you got to take the good with the bad if you if you go.
Okay, so recently I was listening to WFNZ, and there was some breaking news. California basically canceled the California school system canceled all their classes, in-person classes for the fall. Do you guys think that we'll actually see football in the fall, college football?
It's tough, man.
Well, let me start.
All right.
There is no way in hell from Virginia on south that they're not going to play college football.
Thank you.
I'm just going to be honest with you. Look, they don't care who's dying as long as they got their college football.
I would look. You stole the words out of my mouth, man. I don't even know if this is possible. I don't know the dynamic of this, man. But you best believe if they went by conference, let's just say the NCAA said, "Hey, every conference has a choice whether they can do this or not." You damn sure better believe the SEC be like, "Oh, we playing. Oh, we gonna figure something out." Even if we have to do quote unquote social distancing at the actual games, they're gonna play their damn football in the SEC. Probably the ACC too, man. I'm with you on that. Now, do they need to? Things are so uncertain, man. I vote no, man. But at the same time, I think people are getting more and more restless with this, whether it's just people in general, the general population, and also you got people losing money with sports, so they're getting restless and impatient, man. So with all that being said, man, yeah, I think we are going to see college football in some capacity. Yeah.
Boy, so the NBA could handle NCAA basketball going away for good. And we're already starting to see a shift in which players are eschewing the traditional, and we'll talk about this a little bit with Zion, but the traditional means of go to college, get drafted, go to the NBA, because now you can go play pro overseas and get drafted. There's
the G League.
The G League is blowing up, and the NBA might just say, you know what, that's our premier pipeline.
Right.
However, the NFL doesn't have that luxury.
Don't have that choice. Yeah.
And there really can't be because of the nature, the physical nature of football. They depend on college football in order to get players, coaches, and everything. Also, professional sports teams can survive being shut down for a while because all of the owners are billionaires. Whereas with colleges, a lot of those schools, even the big schools, the big academic schools, they primarily survive on their athletics programs. As prestigious of a school as Duke is, one of the best medical schools in the country, you shut down their athletics and see what happens. You shut down North Carolina's athletic program and see what happens. That's where they get their revenue from in order to keep these schools operating. So, yeah, I don't think they can afford to miss college football season. They just can't. It has to be in some capacity. Now, do we want 80,000 people in Death Valley, South Carolina, and Clemson, all crowded up each other? No, we don't. So you might
depend on who you talk to.
Yes, yeah. You might want to go ahead to the game.
Right.
So, but I think in some capacity you have to have competitive sports. And we've seen a lot of people don't remember this. The Tampa Bay Bucks a few years ago had a MRSA outbreak in their locker room, which is a very highly contagious bacteria.
Yeah.
And it was affecting
I forgot about that.
A few players, and they were able to still hold games, and they just took the proper precautions in the locker rooms to ensure that no one got infected. I could see college football and maybe professional sports doing games without fans. Yes, that's not what we want, but I think that one, it still generates revenue. You still allow college football players to get those reps in, get in front of NFL scouts, and have a pipeline to professional sports. I think we'll start to see a compromise like that. Games without fans, and then we'll slowly build towards back how we used to be, or at least some semblance of how we used to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's kind of like it needs to be done in phases, just like reopening whatever state you live in. Everything needs to be done in certain phases, and I definitely see sports going that way as well.
So Zion might be in some trouble.
He
ain't in nothing.
So his former agent or representative, before he sued to get out that contract, stated that he took money from boosters and everything at Duke University. Do we give a damn at all, or I mean, it's just overblown? I mean, to be honest with you, man, look, disclaimer: if I were to have a son and he's a top recruit, you are paying for something for this house. Look, my child services aren't free. They're not a slave. Education is not especially as a black male to me, education is not the to all be all. Show me that paper.
With that being said, I couldn't care less, man. Number one, because I think it's way more widespread than people want to believe. You know what I mean? I think we're about to see Coach K's back issues flare up again out of nowhere. And and just with the mishandling of college athletes and just the lack of leadership by Mark Emmert, I don't care, man. Listen, man, this might be very surprising coming from me. I really don't give a damn if Duke gets punished or not. I really don't, man. That's just how. That's just, I just don't care whether these kids get there. They need to. I'm tired of these kids getting exploited for nothing anyway. There's a lot of people who didn't give a damn about Duke basketball until Zion Williamson came on that court a couple of years ago, man. So whatever they gave him, they should have tripled it because the kid was obviously worth it. So I don't care.
Box office.
You guys saw that he committed to Duke. I'm certain y'all thought the same thing. I thought, oh, they paid him.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You are a generational talent, a prospect from the Carolinas, and essentially you get to pick whatever school you want to go to. Trust me, Duke was not like, he wasn't like, man, I'm going to Duke. He had a list. It was probably Duke, Carolina, Wake. Those are probably.
The crazy thing is Kansas was on that list, and Kansas just got in trouble with the Adidas connection. I'm like, Kansas offered him the same money too. It's just who offered him a little bit more, a little more perks.
Like, you know what? Because we all know that Duke doesn't have the best reputation as far as this pipeline of NBA or college players to NBA. So, you know, I could see Kansas, Kentucky, and Carolina being probably more advantageous to him or looking better. But you know, Duke's got the money. It's a private school.
Listen, I got two very short stories for y'all. And Rodney, I'm gonna take a shot at your school real quick, man. So I remember Florida State and Clemson used to go back and forth, and we used to kick Clemson's ass all the time. But Clemson had a guy named Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins was from where? Florida. Every time I used to watch this game, I used to tell myself, how in the hell does somebody like Sammy Watkins make it out of Florida? You have Florida State, Florida, Miami. A kid that good does not make it out of Florida. Do you get what I'm saying? So I always used to look at y'all, Rodney, and be like, so how much, man?
Whoa. Let's go back. Look, don't throw us under that bus because Florida also let Lamar Jackson and Teddy Bridgewater get out of Florida.
So moving on, my next story. So there was a kid in Connecticut a few years ago. He tried out for an NBA team. Nothing came of. His name was Diamond Stone. He was like the big recruit in Connecticut. I think it's from like Bridgeport or something like that. He was a shoo-in to go to UConn. Everybody's like, oh, we getting Diamond Stone. He's from Connecticut. UConn's calling. We got him. Diamond Stone.
Who went to Maryland, right?
I'm going to tell you how that happened. Diamond Stone plays, and then you know what's the company that sponsors that makes Maryland's Under Armour? Diamond Stone plays in an Under Armour basketball tournament and somehow ends up at Maryland. Really? I say all this to say there's got like, come on, man. Sometimes things are just obvious. That's where I'm going with all this, man. And I'm looking at it, like you said, Kaza. When I first saw Zion went to Duke, it was like, okay, how much, man? Like, come on now, like.
Yes, this surprises no one. To be fair, I understand the NCAA's need to preserve the integrity of college as an educational institution. I completely 100% understand that. But obviously there's a need to separate.
It's a different reality now.
It is. No, it absolutely is. It's not like it was even when Michael Jordan was in college, 30, 40 years ago. It's just different now. And the NCAA has to do something because, as we stated before, players are going to – just think about it. Let's say the next Zion Williamson comes around and you have an opportunity to play college ball or get paid literally millions of dollars to go play in a professional league overseas or in the G League and have almost a guaranteed pipeline to the NBA. I mean, winning a college championship isn't that no one cares about that. Players don't care about that. It's not as important as it was. One and done is just a way to get to the pros.
Right.
So the NCAA has to do something to combat that. They need to come up with hard salary caps or something. I understand that might be difficult to implement, but there's a solution out there that comes down to paying the athletes. And don't sit here and tell me that a scholarship is paying the athletes. No one gives a damn about scholarships. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares, right?
I mean, they probably gave Zion Williamson a scholarship just because they had to. So when a college like Duke or North Carolina is literally making millions and millions and millions of revenue, I mean, how much do you think Duke made off of Zion Williams jerseys?
Probably about 50, 60 million, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're still making money off Zion Williams jerseys.
And they'll continue to, even after all this is said and done. So.
Yeah. Even after he
for social welfare for those sports that nobody care about, like rugby and
right.
So they've got to do something to make sure that money trickles down to
cross. It's interesting how the trickle down effect works for. Let me quit. Okay,
don't go there.
so basically, I've been seeing some stuff, man, in the news that has intrigued me recently. The Hornets have an opportunity to go after a restricted free agent who's a small forward, who's 23 years old, who averaged 25 points this year. His name is Brandon Ingram. Some people can't put their Duke hate aside and not see the good that Duke dude possesses. Would the Hornets be fools not to offer him a max contract?
I say go for it. I say go for it for this reason. Now, I don't want to sound like I'm contradicting myself because a few weeks ago I said I don't want the Hornets to rush the rebuild, so to speak. I mean, I didn't want them to go out and sign like somebody who's going to win us maybe 10 more games or something. However, Brandon Ingram is 23 years old. That cannot be understated. So for someone like that to come in with the culture that we are building already, with what we already have, a dude who is a knockdown. I mean, he is a professional scorer. You get what I'm saying?
Correction. He's still 22. He won't be 23 till September.
Even better, man. I just think sometimes, man, there's this thing that's just a perfect fit, and I think Brandon Ingram is a perfect fit, and he fits the timeline that we ultimately want to be good. You know what I mean? It's like when he's going to really hit his prime, that's when the Hornets can really also start making complementary moves and start to really build a team around Brandon Ingram. So it makes too much sense to me, honestly, man.
Yeah, you got to go after. If you have an opportunity, then you go after. The problem is that everyone's going to go after Brandon Ingram, and he's a restricted free agent.
Right, which we've been down that road before, but
it is rare that restricted free agents that are as good as Brandon Ingram get released into the wild. So I don't see that even happening. I'd be shocked if he became an unrestricted free agent. I'd be absolutely shocked. I mean, you get to keep him for cheap. You can match any. They're gonna match whatever offer.
See, this is my thing. The Pelicans and the Grizzlies are probably the two smallest franchises in the NBA, money wise and market wise. I don't think down the line they have that cap money because you're going to have to pay Zion soon.
Yeah, but I think chance now. You got Zion and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo. You can build around that.
I mean, you look at it like this, man. Lonzo has improved so much. He's going to want a max type contract too. Can you afford to pay 3 or 4 of those max contracts?
But here's what I argue against.
But also you're still paying Drew Holiday and JJ Redick.
Drew Holiday won't be with them too much longer. I guarantee you that because there was already trade rumors circulating around Drew Holiday like all year. So don't expect him to even be a part of that process going forward. But here's where I'll challenge you with that. If you have those 3 guys that you're ultimately going to build around, who's the odd man out? It ain't Brandon Ingram. It's by Lonzo. If I got those 3 guys, I'm not keeping Lonzo over Zion and Brandon Ingram. I'm not.
The Warriors have shown that you can have multiple max deals on the table. Now, granted, the Pels aren't the Warriors, and the cap is going to shrink some next season due to the pandemic, and
which is going to be a big deal.
They say it's due to the pandemic, but I really think it's because of the China situation. But regardless,
thanks, LeBron.
Hey, but what China situation you talking about though? So sorry, go ahead.
But regardless, it'll be smaller. But that is not something they have to worry about immediately. Zion's got about 3 more years on his rookie contract. There's probably an option on it. I could see them trying to keep those 2 players together for some. I'd be shocked if you just let a guy who scores 25, 4, 3, just go into the wild for no compensation without a plan. So now if he does, then the Hornets need to go all in on it, and I think they will. But if you're Brandon Ingram and you're an unrestricted free agent, is Charlotte on your radar?
You're from North Carolina.
You're from North Carolina, but you look at how the Hornets are composed. Is Charlotte on your radar?
I mean, you look at it like this.
He would essentially, so either Miles or PJ is going to lose minutes.
Miles.
Yeah. Or if you've got Brandon Ingram, who could probably play the 2, almost like Batum did, then you've got to deal with that backcourt situation of Devontae and Terry.
All right, listen. Go ahead.
We got 2 situations coming up that we got that we have.
Charlotte, if they make a move like that, they'd have to go all in. They'd have to tell Brandon Ingram, okay, this is your team now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your team, and I don't see them doing that. I don't think Mitch Kupchak does that.
Because look, if I'm Mitch Kupchak, if it's me, and let's say you have to go, there's a situation when you're forced to do a sign and trade. I mean, I love Terry, but sorry, man. If it's to bring Brandon Ingram back, man, I part ways, dog. I say goodbye, man.
Let me say this. Imagine Devontae at the point, Brandon at the 2, Miles at the 3, PJ
Hello.
at the 4.
Hello.
Every game.
At that point, I don't even care who you put in the
Exactly. I think we all agree if you're gonna go for it, go all in on it, man. I think we all agree at that point, man. But not to be sour grapes, man. But we've been down this unrestricted free agent thing before, man. It didn't work out for us that time.
Let's just sign Rudy Gobert and get it over with. I know that's Rodney's dude.
No. Let's overpay Rudy Gobert and get it over with. Yeah, I'll fix it for you.
No. Michael Jordan.
I don't want to do
cheap. He would never overpay. Michael Jordan's cheap.
Nah, he never overpaid anybody, man. Nah, it's too cheap. Yep.
Look. More people are going to jail during the pandemic. He can reach into some of that prison fund to pay for Rudy Gobert.
He just had some new shoes come out, so he can just get that money and just call somebody up, man, to come play for us, man. That's how it works.
That's how it goes, right?
So, guys, quick question for you guys: is there a culture topic that is hitting your soul right now that you want to talk about, or we can just move on to shout outs?
There's something that was on my mind. I will say, I don't know if it's a culture topic, so to speak, but there's something that is on my mind I want to talk about, man. Just from what I've been seeing on social media, strictly going off of that, boy, people in South Carolina are partying it up, boy. I mean, they out here living their best life, dog. Like, I'm like, wow, it's. I guess COVID is over. It's done. Ain't no more COVID, because Charleston, y'all are down there partying, boy. Man, Fort Mill.
Look, I'm not there anymore. I'm here. I'm here in my house. I need a haircut. You see my face?
I'm just no, and I'm specifically speaking about people who are traveling from Charlotte to go down to Charleston and the Fort Mill and the Rock Hill. I'm like, man, nah. I look, man, I'm over this whole thing, but not like that though, man.
Yeah, I mean, I cannot wait till we're all back in the studio. Recording.
Same, man. Same.
I can't wait. That's gonna be a great episode, but it's okay to be cautious.
Yeah,
there
man.
Seems to be this sentiment.
Not with the plan. I don't like that.
There seems to be this sentiment that being cautious is bad. Like,
right,
you shouldn't be cautious. I'm wearing a mask and all that.
Oh, stop being scared, man.
Yeah. No, it's okay to be. It's
snowflake.
To be cautious, considering we don't know. Now it just came out that now that if you have the antibodies from COVID-19, they might mess you up too, because your body's responding to the antibodies. We don't know enough about this for us to just be going out willy-nilly. On that note, let's not forget the RNC is supposed to be here in Charlotte in a few months. So you're gonna have every Republican in the country descend upon our fair city and be in this packed situation for an extended amount of time while this disease continues to ravage us on a global scale. That's going to be interesting. It's just funny. It's just funny the way things work out. Stay away from Uptown. Yeah, just funny the way things work out.
No comment.
No comment. Yeah, no comment. I want to start trouble today.
They come here, get it, and disperse it out.
I ain't saying nothing. Nope. I mean, nope.
Okay. So we're moving on to shout outs. Do you have any shout outs?
Shout outs, man. Shout outs to the essential workers who have been. I don't know, man. Like, the show has just pretty much went on with these people, man. Like just shout out to grocery store workers, Lyft drivers, Uber drivers, truck drivers, the retail workers who are back in full force now in North Carolina. Please continue to be careful. Just shout out to everyone who has had to work through this whole COVID-19 thing, and also shout out to everyone who has had to deal with losing a loved one to this unfortunate disease as well. So shout out to those people, man.
Yeah, there's been a lot of death this year.
Yeah.
Y'all remember the days when celebrities used to die in threes?
Yeah.
It's like 6 now.
Yeah, it's like 33s now. It's like every day.
Yeah.
Somebody famous is dead. Either from COVID-19 or just other causes. So yeah, shout out to those that are getting through that pain. Hopefully it gets better, but we are in a realm of uncertainty right now. But this could be a new normal. And so shout out to those that are that are able to adapt. That's who's really going to be able to, when it's time to progress forward, those of us that were able to adapt and be better or do more, that's who's going to lead that progression.
No doubt.
Also, y'all out there, y'all better start making content. And I'm not talking about your mixtape or anything like that. People want content, and now is the time to create it. When this whole thing started and we weren't sure what we were going to do under construction, we'd be like, look, we got to continue to give people the content. So
absolutely.
That's why we are doing this every week. Go out there, start your YouTube channel, don't start a podcast. Let me tell you that actually. Don't do that. That's very hard actually. But do something. Give the people what they want. Now is the time if you're an entrepreneur to try something different, a new endeavor. So
yeah, go create something. I don't know what it is. Just go be creative. Create something. I agree, man.
Okay,
and
so
I'll support you. I'll always support you.
No doubt.
So I have a list. Shout out to Ludacris and Nelly for providing us with entertainment last night. Shout out to the people that Jamal hate because he's a music purist. I
would have watched, man, but I had something to do last night, man. I had some shoestrings.
I mean, look, Nelly got washed. Like,
what a shock! Oh, what a shock! What a shock! What a shock there.
I mean, it was an interesting battle. Nelly was on his Teddy Riley last night. Like, he had the Boost Mobile internet. He was drunk as hell. But, I mean, that battle made me have more respect for Ludacris. That dude is, yeah.
I've always loved Ludacris. Fairly consistent. And then when people say things like, well, I don't always want to hear, I want to hear some club music. Ludacris has been able to toe that line.
Yeah,
he can make a club banger, and then he can like spit some stuff that I want to listen to.
I forgot Ludacris's verse on that Made You Look remix.
He killed the Made You Look remix.
I was like, yo, this dude can really rap.
He can rap. Look, man, and the thing is, I'm not gonna sit here and tell y'all that I've went out and bought a Ludacris CD or album or anything like that, but I've always respected dude, man. Like he's always had my respect, man. He's made songs that I've liked before. I just couldn't sit through Nelly, man. That's why I can't do it, man. Sorry, man.
I think every verses from now on should just be a celebration of their music. And
I think Jill Scott and Erykah Badu got it right, man.
They got it right. It has to be two artists of similar ilk,
yep.
Or else it doesn't work. And then just
feel it, man.
Jill Scott and Erykah Badu did it the right way because
I agree.
The problem with verses has always been this: if I take the best 20 songs from each people or from each artist and play them, someone might have 11 songs better than the other guys. 8, but depending on how you match them up,
it gets complicated.
Yeah, and then how do you determine? The artist mostly determines what they're. A lot of times they play their favorite songs, not necessarily the best.
Songs, yeah.
Right.
DJ Premier maybe played like literally 5 or 6 of his best joints, but he was playing stuff. Man, I really liked this one.
Yeah.
To play it. So the whole format needs to change for me to get back into watching these. I'd rather just like Erykah Badu and Jill Scott did it.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then also I want to send I had it, man. I forgot it. But let me send a shout out to our good friend Danny Thompson.
Yeah.
He lost a family member last week. He came on last Sunday, and he was up in the Charlotte area for the homegoing services. We're praying for you. We're here for you. You're our brother.
And our condolences, man. No doubt.
Also, Danny does his thing on Facebook like we're doing or like we're streaming now. Very knowledgeable.
Go support him. Yeah.
So go support him and what he's doing as well. So.
Oh, tonight he's gonna be talking about The Last Dance. He does it every night. Him and Raphael, Mr. Controversy. They'll be talking about that tonight.
I may hop on that.
And then also they do their versus battles. His own personal versus battle, which is actually better than versus battles because Kaiser said it's similar artists and similar ilk. And that's pretty much it, man. What you guys plans for the rest of the week?
Hey man, I want to challenge Rodney to a Bluetooth battle because I ain't got DJ equipment. I got a Bluetooth, man. We're gonna do a Bluetooth we're gonna do like Brandy versus Monica, and I'm gonna have my Bluetooth and you're gonna have yours, man. We're gonna get it on, man.
Nah.
But I'm done for the day, man. That's all I had, bro.
Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you guys for watching, man. Y'all stay safe, stay vigilant. Corona ain't going nowhere. Sit your ass in the house.
Sit your ass in the house.
You ain't got nowhere to be.
Go to the Dairy Queen on Wilkinson. I drive by. I love Dairy Queen, but I don't love it that much.
I don't love it that much.
Yeah.
Hey man, don't go to the mall. It might be your last time. Keep your mask on. Stay safe. Work out during this time period too. I started working out. Please work out because you don't want to get fat like me. And
me, same.
Work out.
Yep, same. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all. Have a good weekend.